It was a busy time at the docks. All the engines were working hard, pushing and pulling freight cars about. One morning, Percy was late. Cranky the Crane was quick to criticize. These ships can't be kept waiting. They have important cargo. If they miss the tide, they will be delayed at the docks. You should look up the ships and show more respect. You are, after all, only little. We've got too much work, huffed Percy. Then perhaps a lorry should do your job. Percy was shocked. He decided to tell the other engines what Cranky had said. Stuff and nonsense, snorted James. We engines run this island, said Henry. But what if a lorry does come? I'm afraid it did, along with 2 more. Oh, fuck, Percy said. Cranky, however, was delighted. Hey, you down there, your job is done now. These lorries are taking over. One of them wants to talk to you. The lorry was very rude. What's this steaming lump of scrap iron doing here? Be off with you. Scrap iron? Steaming scrap iron? Ha! A little later, Percy met up with Thomas and James. Another lorry was being rude to them. Then he saw Percy. Oh, look, it's a little green goblin on wheels. Huh, you'd be scrapped. Just you wait and see. Well, bust my boiler. What an asshole, exclaimed Thomas. Despicable, agreed James. The next engine to meet a lorry was Toby. Well, well, well. No wonder this railway's a mess. You belong in a museum, not working in a quarry. I might look old, but I'm very useful. Useful? Ha! Replied the lorry. Just you tootle off. Toodle? Spluttered Toby. Come along, Toby, interrupted his driver. Don't bother to argue with him. We'll go to the flour mill instead. But when they arrived at the flour mill, Toby was shocked to see yet another lorry. What are you doing here? We 3 are doing your work now. You're too slow. The foreman spoke to Toby's driver. I'm sorry. Times are a-changing, I'm afraid. Toby might look old, replied his driver, but he's reliable. Come on, Toby, we'll go to the farms. They'll still use us. Toby trundled sadly away. His railway ran through a narrow gorge, but vehicles had to tackle a steep and dangerous road. When Toby arrived, he saw the lorry from the quarry again. It was loaded with rocks. That lorry's in trouble, thought Toby. And he was. Haha, I'm the greatest. Wait, no! Oh shit. The driver was thrown clear. Rotten roads, he muttered. Ow. The wrecked lorry was taken to the docks. Percy looked at the lorry. What's this load of steaming scrap iron? He teased. I'll be back, replied the lorry, so you can wipe that silly smile off your smoke box. Ha! Said Percy, and wheezed him loudly. Then, Butch the breakdown vehicle arrived. He was towing the lorry from the flour mill. What happened? Asked Toby's driver. He was overloaded with flour, came the reply, and he broke down. Not very useful now, are you? Said Toby. Replied the lorries. Then James whistled excitedly. They're bringing the 3rd lorry in on a barge. What happened to that one? James asked. Stupid lorry was reversing and fell straight into the sea, said the tow truck man. Later, Thomas arrived. He looked at the 3 lorries and laughed. Well, well, well. The Brothers Grimm. Smashed, broken, and sunk. The lorries did not return, and the engines now worked even harder to make sure they never will. One morning, Gordon was feeling grumpy. This was making James cross. Why are you complaining all the time? Because I'm a big blue engine, and I know everything. I shall complain whenever I want. You're just a small red engine with ideas above your station. I can't see any, said Percy. Where are they? Any what? Ideas above the station. The sky is empty. Like your smoke box, Percy, laughed James. But Gordon was still grumpy. One day, I'll show you just what a big engine can really do. So what can a big engine really do? Not speak the silly little green engines for a start, replied Gordon. Then he huffed away. Later that day, Sir Topham Hatt came to see him. Gordon, you'll be making one stop today with an empty express to test out a new station. You could make up time afterwards. Why can't Henry do it? He likes idling in stations. You will do as you are told, came a blunt reply. So, Gordon did. He was still unhappy. And he grew sick, too. I just can't get up the speed, he groaned. It's time for your visit to the works. Your pipes are clogged, said the fireman. At last, they approached the new station. Gordon was impressed, but his mood soon changed. In front of him was a blank wall and huge buffers. What a boring view, he grunted. Important engines like me should have a panoramic view, where I could see people and people could see me. And he wheezed angrily. Gordon was happy when it was time to leave. Now you can really enjoy your run, as long as your pipes will let you, said his driver. Come on, I can go faster than this, huffed Gordon. Sick? Me? Never. But Gordon began to feel more and more feeble. And soon, he came to a complete stop. What happened? He exclaimed. His driver and fireman expected him. Something's broken inside you, Gordon, said his fireman. Now you really will have to go to the works. Gordon was still fuming when James arrived to collect his coaches. Well. So much for knowing everything. You got too puffed up in your boiler, so it serves you right. When Gordon returned from the works a few days later, he was still boasting. I am the finest engine on the island of Sodor. Probably the finest in the world. Come on, Gordon. We're going to the official opening of the new station. Then there was trouble. As Gordon approached the new station, neither the driver nor the fireman could apply the brakes. Something had jammed. The driver reduced speed, but Gordon was still going too fast. Help me, please. Well, Gordon, said Sir Topham Hatt, I knew you wanted a panoramic view, but this is not the way to achieve it. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, muttered Gordon. When Gordon was repaired again, he took Sir Topham Hatt to the new station for its second official opening. This time, he arrived safely, and everyone clapped and cheered as he pulled in. Sir Topham Hatt spoke to him. Your panoramic view is here to stay. I trust you always see through it from the safety of your own rails. Gordon heartedly agreed. Thomas the tank engine had been working in the coal yards all day. The little blue engine was covered in coal dust. We can't clean you up tonight, Thomas, said his driver. There's a problem in the hose pipe. Bother, said Thomas. A bath would make me feel much better. The others are sure to say I look silly, but the other engines were too busy arguing to notice Thomas. James was talking loudest of all. I deserve a new coat of paint. Sir Topham Hatt says I'm the pride of the line. And rubbish, huffed Henry. We're all the pride of the line. It's been like this all day, confided Percy to Thomas. James is getting a new coat of paint and won't stop boasting about it. Why the fuck is James being the one getting repainted? I'm the one who needs a new coat. Look at me. I'd rather not, retorted James. You're not a pleasant sight, and wouldn't understand the needs of a really important engine. Thomas was fucking furious. Next morning, As James was being being repainted, Henry had an accident. If you can't push freight cars properly, Henry, why not talk to trees instead? You know how much you like the forest after all. As a matter of fact, Bossy Boiler, Sir Topham Hatt is inspecting the island for trees that are too close to the line. He's worried they might cause trouble. Pah! Laughed James. If I came upon a tree, I'd just push it aside. Really? Henry replied. Soon, James was showing off his paintwork. Make way for an important engine. You wouldn't feel important if one of those trees crashed onto you. You'd feel hurt, reproached Percy. Rubbish! It wouldn't dare. You should be careful, James. Trees can be just as powerful as engines, advised Terence. Oh, please. Now excuse me, Sir Topham Hatt needs me to pull the express. And he huffed away. But James was wrong. You must go to the yards and collect an important goods train, James. It's heavy, so be careful, said Sir Topham Hatt. But sir, I've just been repainted. Can't Thomas or Percy do it? They're dirty and like working with freight cars. Really useful engines, don't argue. So James didn't. By the time he arrived at the yards, the weather had changed for the worse. Your color's nice, James. Pity about your face, though, said the freight cars. Oh, fuck off, said James as they left the yard. Soon, they came to a hill, and his driver knew they were in for a difficult time. An old tree by the tracks was being blown by the winds, and the rain had weakened the slope. All of a sudden, the tree moved. Oh, help! Cried James. Go away! But of course it couldn't. James tried to reverse away from the tree, but his train was too heavy. Then he heard a whistle. It's Thomas! Cried his driver. James felt embarrassed and worried that Thomas would laugh at him. But Thomas didn't. He knew this was no time for teasing. Beep, beep. I'm ready, whistled Thomas. So am I, replied James, as ready as I'll ever be. They were just in time. Later, James spoke to Thomas. Percy and Terence were so right to warn me. Thank you for rescuing me, Thomas. Oh, that's all right. We engines must pull together, whatever the weather. Just then, Edward bustled in. Sir Topham Hatt thinks you're both very brave engines. Thomas, you ought to have a new coat of paint. And James, Sir Topham Hatt says that tomorrow you can pull the special express. Everyone was very happy. Early one morning, Gordon's fire would not light. I don't know what's wrong, said the firelighter. There must be gremlins about. What are gremlins? Asked Percy. I've heard they're little green men who play tricks, replied Thomas. Can we find one? Asked Percy. Pah! Said James. Gremlins don't exist. They're just an excuse for when things go wrong. If Firelighter says they're gremlins, there are, insisted Thomas. Huh, snorted James. Sir Topham Hatt had heard everything. Silence, he said. I am expecting a VIP, a very important person today. She has heard that all my engines are very useful. Please prove it. Yes, sir, they all said. As long as the gremlins let us, added Percy. What gremlins? The one in Gordon's fire, sir. That's why he's not ready yet. I'll see about that, thundered Sir Topham Hatt. And he did. Gordon, I expect you to be on your best behavior today. You ought to pull the special coach for my special visitor, but no high speeds, please. She wouldn't like that. Gordon was proud and pleased. He was waiting for his special coach when Percy puffed in with some trucks. What's the matter, Gordon? You're late. Driver says there are gremlins in the turntable, replied Gordon. They must be everywhere, squeaked Percy. At last, the turntable was mended, and Gordon puffed away with his special coach. He was soon working hard to make up for the lost time. After he arrived at the station, Sir Topham Hatt became concerned. "Where's Thomas?" he wondered. "He was supposed to be bringing in my special visitor from the docks." "Ha!" puffed Gordon. "Thomas isn't really useful. He's late." "I'm sorry. A cow strayed onto the line, and we had to wait for a farmer to take her away. But driver says your special visitor is here safe and sound." "Indeed she is," smiled Sir Topham Hatt. "How nice to see you." "Who is it?" whispered Percy. "I don't know," replied Thomas, "but Sir Topham Hatt is certainly keen to please her. He's arranged a special party for her, too." "She's got a dog," said Percy. "A wolf. Come on, Thomas," said his driver. "You need a drink." "Ha!" puffed Gordon. "Thomas is just a lazy little engine. Sir Topham Hatt is expecting me to arrive on time, but we're late because of Thomas." Gordon's driver decided to make up for lost time. Then there was trouble. "I think we better slow down. This is a very old line. It could make things uncomfortable for the VIP." And it did. She was taking a bath and water was slopping all over the place. "Woo!" she cried. Gordon was very relieved to reach his final destination, where Thomas was waiting to collect Sir Topham Hatt's special visitor. Gordon blew an extra long whistle. This frightened the dog so much that he fled the station and went into a field where a bull was grazing. The bull frightened the dog even more. He ran back onto the platform and over the bridge. What the fuck am I doing? Anyways, he didn't stop until he jumped straight into Thomas's cab. Woof, woof. But he had a wonderful ride, all the way to the docks. "What's this dog's name?" asked the fireman. "Well, after today's event, I think I'll rename him Gremlin." Sir Topham Hatt chuckled. "In that case, I've met one at last. Ha ha ha." "Excuse me, sir, but who is your very important visitor?" "Why, didn't I tell you? This lady is my mother, and she agrees with me. You are indeed really useful engines, and my mother, of course, is always right." One day, George the Steamroller was waiting for Percy to take him to a new workplace. George was being rude to Rheneas and Skarloey. "You're just worn-out wheels on worn-out rails." "You need rocks for your roads," replied Skarloey, "and we're helping you." "I need to flatten little engines at the scrapyard," retorted George. Then Percy arrived to take George away. He was still rebelling. "Railways are no good. Turn them in the roads." The little engines were pleased to see him go. "Rollers are rubbish, so good riddance," they called. George grumbled all the way to the old branch line. He was going to turn it into a road. When they arrived, George was rude again. "Bumpy ride on rotten rails. I'm glad it's over." "So am I," said Percy. "Huh!" puffed George. Percy was still fuming when he met Thomas. "What's up, Percy?" "It's George. He makes me feel down." "Just ignore him," puffed Thomas. George was now enjoying himself. "Ripping up rails," he chortled. "What a life! What do you think of this, Thomas?" Thomas took no notice. George felt insulted. "You're a useless blue puffball," he shouted. But Thomas didn't hear. "I'll show him who's boss." At last, the workmen reached the level crossing. "What shall we do here?" "Tear it up! Tarmac!" said George. So they did, but not properly, and George knew it. Later, Thomas was traveling home on the same line. He was pulling trucks filled with vegetables. The signalman had forgotten to warn his driver about the crossing. "That's nice. We don't need to stop," said Thomas happily. "Yes, we do," called his driver. But it was too late. "Whoa! Hey! Whoa! Whoa! Ah! Ah! Ah!" What the hell? Next day, Percy told Gordon all about George. "Huh!" snorted Gordon. "You're just a small engine. That's why he's rude to you. He wouldn't dare cause me any trouble." And he puffed importantly away. George had been taken to some yards to work. Duck arrived with a train of empty freight cars. George was blocking the line, and a freight car was stuck on the main line. "Let me through," demanded Duck. "You'll just have to wait," replied George. "There's no time to wait. I must clear my line of freight cars from the main line to let Gordon through." "Then he'll have to wait too," said George. Duck's driver went to go complain to the station master. But the signalman had set the signal to allow Gordon to speed through. His passengers were singing his praises, and he was making express time. "I'm the greatest! Just watch me as I fly by!" He whistled long and loud as he approached the station. Suddenly, he saw a freight car on the line ahead. "Get out of my way!" But the car couldn't, until Gordon forced it. By accident. Gordon was worried that Sir Topham Hatt would be cross with him. He was, but not with Gordon. "Whoever caused this disturbance will have me to answer to." And he did, a few days later. "Well, look who's here," said Thomas. George had been found out by Sir Topham Hatt and punished. He looked miserable. "Now we'll get some peace at last," said Percy. "I want to get rolling again, but I've got to wait a whole week till I do." "And then you'll be just as rude as ever, eh, George?" "I sure hope not. Don't you?" And before anyone asked, Lady Hatt's birthday party was not easily available on Oliver 11G Duber's channel. I'm not going through the trouble of going onto his Google Drive, downloading it, and then inevitably putting it on a freaking TV border. So, your loss, I guess. I do, however, have this. When you think life's unfair and you feel nobody cares, don't be afraid to open the door. Then you'll find you're not alone anymore. Sometimes there's rainy days. You may need help along the way. Do not despair, you know we'll be there. That's what friends are for. All pull together, all join hands. Old friends together forever. We are the best friends. We stand as one. Whatever life may bring, we are never alone. We're together forever as one. Life's full of ups and downs, just like a merry-go-round. Happy or sad, we'll stick by your side. That's what friends are for. All pull together, all join hands. Old friends together forever. We are the best friends. We stand as one. Whatever our life may bring. We are never alone. We're together forever. One day we may be apart, and the distance may sadden our hearts. Wherever we stray, remember this day. Friends together forever we stay.